In 2025, I read 73 books. Here are my favorites according to each month. Hi, I'm Alex. This is Books and Paperbacks, where I love to shout about queer and trans books. Today, I am finally bringing you my favorite books of 2025. I know it's been a while. You're probably seeing this in March, but it's finally here, and I hope you'll stick around. If you would like to see my reading stats video, I recently posted that, so I'll have it linked down below. The way I structure this video is going through each month and sharing with you which books I enjoyed and which are possibly new favorites. I find that this format works easier for me rather than putting together a top 10 or 20 list. If you would like to hear my thoughts on all of the books that I read in 2025, plus more in-depth reviews of these titles, I will link a playlist down below of all of my wrap-ups for 2025. These are my reading wrap-ups where I review each book I've read that month. All of the titles will be listed down below, and if you would like to support me further, you can support me on bookshop.org. I will have a shelf dedicated to my best books of 2025 where you can shop, help support your local indie bookstores, and you will help me as well. Thanks for watching. Let's get into it. Starting with January, The In-Between Bookstore by Edward Underhill is about a trans man going back to his hometown, approaching 30, and seeing his younger self at the counter when he walks into the bookstore he worked at in high school. This has subtle time travel and really talks about living in a small town. This was Edward Underhill's adult debut, and it did not miss. On audio, I read The Truth According to Ember by Danica and Nava. This is the first traditionally published Indigenous romance. It's a workplace romance, and I adored it. I thought this was funny, and I liked how it teetered between serious issues about Indigenous people in the workplace, and we had some joy, plus some humor. How to Excavate a Heart by Jake Maia-Arlow was picked for me by one of my patrons. I started doing spoiler reading vlogs, and I documented my whole experience reading this. I was so invested in this, and it made me cry. And last for January is Recommended Reading by Coccia. This is a rom-com following Bobby, who is a hopeless romantic, and how he builds his uncle's bookstore up from the ground. I loved this because of the marketing aspect. I know it's a rom-com, so you would think I care more about the romance, and I did think it was a sweet romance, but I cared more about the bookshop elements. I loved seeing how Bobby implemented marketing strategies and was able to help the bookstore become more popular in town. This was a sweet rom-com. Moving to February is Hijab Butch Blues by Lamya H. I devoured this. It's so good. I'm so glad I got around to this because in 2024 it had a lot of hype, rightfully so. We follow Lamya as they discover their sexuality and non-binary identity as a queer Muslim immigrant, but the main focus of this book is Lamya going through passages from the Quran and connecting them to queerness and transness. This was so phenomenal, and it deserves all the praise. Next is the romance Second Chances in Newport Stephen by TJ Alexander. This was my first from this author. I loved this so much. It is a second chance romance between a trans man and his high school ex. I loved the trans joy, and I resonated with it a lot. Our main character is also sober, and I loved that. I need more sober main characters. And last is the middle grade B. Mullins Takes a Shot by Emily Deibert. This is a sapphic middle grade set in Toronto, all about girls' sports, specifically hockey. This was adorable, and I loved the way that it highlighted the discrepancies and the importance of girls and women's sports. Moving on to March is Horse Barbie by Geena Rocero. I read this on audiobook. I feel that Geena is an overlooked person in history. Everyone needs to know about her. She is a trans woman who left the Philippines to go to New York and become a pageant queen. Being stealth, she talks about the experiences that she faced and how she was able to do so much good for trans women in the Philippines. Shoot Your Shot by Lexi Lafleur Brown was one of my most anticipated releases for the year, and it did not disappoint. Lexi is a former NHL wife, and she has also played goalie. She nailed this hockey romance. It was her debut, and I loved it. I tend to be critical of hockey romance because I just feel like it is very white and it does not actually talk about the problems in the NHL, and it also doesn't focus a lot on women's sports. I do have a whole video where I shared my hockey book recommendations, so I'll link it up above. Shoot Your Shot is on there. It is a queer hockey romance. It follows a black love interest. I thought it was silly, but at the same time, I appreciated that Lexi talks about the actual realities happening in the NHL. The Cartographers by Penn Shepard wasn't going to make this list, but as I ruminated on it, I feel like I have to add it. I enjoyed this. There were some problems that I had, but it's a story that I can't stop thinking about. It was so unique. I did a video where I read books with the same title, so I read 2 books called The Cartographers, and this is the one that won, in my opinion. I don't even know how to pitch it, but it was really fun. I liked the audiobook, and just being able to uncover the mystery of this girl's father's death was really interesting. I specifically liked the addition of multi-POV. Next is the middle grade graphic novel Lunar Boy by Jess and Shin Wibowo. This is a sci-fi middle grade graphic novel following a trans boy. He was on the moon and then he's adopted, and it is just how he navigates life. I thought this was so great. Specifically, I liked how much queerness there was. It was really fun. The illustrations are great, and I'm glad I read it. Another memoir I read was The House of My Mother by Shari Franke. I hate to say that I enjoyed this, but I thought it was well written. This is Shari's story living with her abusive mother, Ruby Franke. If you haven't heard of this story, there was a documentary on Hulu that I watched, and I've been following this for many years. If you don't know, Shari comes from the family vlogging channel 8 Passengers. They're based in Utah, and I believe it was like a year or 2 ago that her mother, Ruby, and her partner Jody were convicted as child abusers. It is a horrific story, but we have never heard the children's stories. Now that Shari is old enough, she wanted to write about her story. I thought it was well written. It's a heartbreaking read, but I thought it was well done. The audiobook was from Libro FM. I think she's a great writer. I'm sorry that she had to write about this because it's traumatic, it's sad, and just that a mother would do this to her own children is horrific. Last for March is Meet You Diary by Emery Lee. This is underrated. I will be a champion for this book. It was so badly reviewed when it first came out, and I want to tell more people to read this. We follow Noah, a trans teen who is living with his brother for the summer in Colorado. He's trying to get a job for the summer, but things aren't going his way. He's also running a blog sharing stories of trans love, but they're all fake. An anonymous account makes a claim that this page is fake, and Noah is trying to prove that it's not, even though it's true that all of the stories are fake. I love this. It is so good. I loved the T for T romance, and I loved how messy Noah is. Having a trans teen who is fucking up all the time is great representation. It is so important to have this, especially in YA. Teenagers aren't perfect. Literally think about yourself when you were 17 or 18 and all of the bad decisions that you made. I loved this. Don't listen to the reviews. Listen to me. This is very good. Moving on to April. The Prospects by KT Hoffman is one of my new favorite romances. This is a romance following Gene, a trans man. He's the first trans man and trans person to be in professional baseball. I loved this so much. It was so good. I just loved everything about it. It was so much fun to read. It has anxiety rep, which I resonated with a lot. Plus, I just liked the baseball knowledge. Obviously, I'm a hockey guy. I watch baseball occasionally, usually during the off season, but I don't know the ins and outs like I know for hockey. So this was really informative, even though it's a romance. It was really fun to read, and I highly recommend it. One of my weirdest books of the year is Several People Are Typing by Calvin Kasulke. This is written in Slack messages. There's an employee at this PR firm who is in Slack. His body is present, but his soul is inside Slack. I don't even know how to describe this. It was so weird, but really fun. Recommended by one of my patrons. I read Legends and Lattes this year, and I really liked it. I want to read more cozy books like this. We follow Viv, who is an orc, and stops battling to open a coffee shop and just have a slow, calm home life. The cozy genre is so interesting to me because I like that this was light and it didn't have a lot of like triggering things, but the fact that it's cozy and is about somebody who is opening up a coffee shop is so funny to me because retail is not cozy. It's very stressful. But I really liked getting to see how they created the coffee shop and how they implemented things. There's a mouse that I really liked. I did vlog this for Patreon, so there is actual footage of me live reacting to reading this book. In 2025, I was in my manga era. I started reading more manga and I like it. I started the series Cat Gamer and I really like it. It is about a woman who takes in a cat but has never raised a cat before. It is hilarious. It's really fun. If you are a cat owner, you will really like this. It's very relatable, it's light, and funny. As the title implies, our main character is a gamer, so there also is some inclusion of video games. Moving on to May, my birth month and booktube birthday anniversary, I read a couple of things. I really liked the novella Read Between the Lines by B. Medina. This was so cute. It's an autistic lesbian romance. One of our characters uses an AAC device to communicate, and it's YA. I adored this. It's so good. Discovering TJ Alexander is one of my highlights of 2025. The next book is a new one from TJ Alexander. I was sent this by Lavender Public Relations. I'm so glad that they reached out to me because I adored this. One of my favorite narrators, Harrison Knights, narrated the audiobook, so I read it physically in tandem with the audiobook. This is a T for T romance following Lord Christopher Eden and his valet, James Harding. It's set in Regency, England, and I ate it up. It's so good. Disappoint Me by Nicola Dinan is a hidden gem. When I first read it, I didn't think it was going to be a new favorite, but as I have had time to think more about it, I think this is such a great book. It is going to take a while for you to get into it, but trust me, just keep going. This is such an important story from the perspective of a trans woman in her 30s. The social commentary is why I loved this. It talks about the audacity of cis men and being a trans woman in your 30s. I'm also going to shout out Frankly in Love by David Yoon. I had this on my TBR for many years. I finally read it thanks to TBR Tackle, and I was impressed. I listened to the audiobook of this as well in tandem with reading the physical. I'm glad I finally got around to it and I didn't just choose to unhaul it. It talks all about generational trauma and just family. I liked the way that it discusses just generational issues within families. I feel like that's all I can really say about it. If you want to hear my full thoughts, check out that episode of TBR Tackle or my wrap up. Moving on to June, Forget Me Not by Alison Derrick is a book that I haven't forgot. It was so beautiful. I would read it again. It's about two girls who are in love with each other. They plan to go to California and escape their conservative town and conservative parents who do not approve of their sexuality. After graduation, they're gonna go to California and start new. They have the money saved up and the plan is good to go until one of the girls falls, hits her head, and a year of her memory is erased. She does not know why this girl is in her life. Her parents are unaccepting of her, and she just does not know why this girl keeps coming around her. It's her girlfriend. The only way I can describe this is it's a beautiful love story. It will make you sob. Please have tissues nearby. But if you read any YA book, it should be this one. I was pleasantly surprised by Costume for Time Travelers by A.R. Capetta. This is another book that I didn't think would be in this video, but I can't stop thinking about it. I thought it was so fun. It is a time travel romance. I think it's T for T. We do have some trans rep. It is a light fantasy with time travel. And we have these two characters, Fawkes and Callisto, who have met before, but Callisto does not know who Fawkes is. They go on their time travel adventure to stop the Time Wardens. I really enjoyed it. If I were to make a top 10 list, Freshwater would be at the top. Freshwater by Akwaeke Emezi is one of my new favorite books. I also read this for TBR Tackle, and I'm so glad I did because this was phenomenal. I cannot properly pitch it. It's just one of those books you need to read and then you'll know why. It was just written so well. It's phenomenal and I love it. I'm so glad I finally got around to this. And last is the middle grade Glitch Girl. I was also sent this from the publisher or publishing agency. Thank you for sending this over. It is written in verse, it's middle grade, about a trans girl who is navigating an ADHD diagnosis. If you played Roller Coaster Tycoon growing up, this book will speak to you. In July, I read food-related stories by Gabby Millian. This was so good. These are short stories from Gabby's life. You may know her from the Bon Appetit Kitchen. I love this so much. It spoke to my foodie heart. Jessica Kingsley Publishing sent me the medical comic Gender is Really Strange, and I read it at 5 o'clock in the morning, but it's still on this list. I really like this. It talks about gender and sexuality through culture, and I just think it's such an important read. Another favorite romance is the next chapter by Cameron Kellogg. This is a Notting Hill inspired romance between a queer bookseller and a former child star. I ate it up. I loved it so much. The last book for July is another romance. I tested Marriage of Convenience for another episode of Trope Taste Test, and I found The Proposal by Tanito Reyes. This was so good. It has childhood friends to lovers, an autistic protagonist. It does talk about immigration and ICE, but we have a really wholesome romance. It's messy, it's fun, and I adored it. In August, I did a reading vlog where I read books about cats. I found a memoir that I'm going to be talking about for a long time. The Cat I Never Named by Amra Sabik El Reyes. This is set in the early 90s, talking about the Bosnian genocide through Amra's perspective as a teenager living through this period. This is a gruesome, heartbreaking story, but it is so important. As Amra and her family are going through this horrific time, a cat comes to her and her family feel the cat is their protector. I also finally read When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. This was so good, and I hope that she writes more thrillers. In September, I read and loved the memoir The Third Gilmore Girl by Emily Bishop. I am a huge Gilmore Girls fan. I did not know anything about Emily Bishop, and having read that book, I know so much more about her. Highly recommend the audiobook if you are able to access it. I loved this so much. I initially wasn't going to read it, but I'm really glad I did. I was pleasantly surprised. I also read I Keep My Exoskeletons to Myself by Matt Crane. This wasn't going to make this list, but it's another book that I just keep thinking about and think that it is important to highlight. It is about living in a police state and being queer, grief, and parenting. I also read With or Without You by Eric Smith. This YA is set in Philadelphia about a fake rivalry between cheesesteak trucks. I cannot in good faith say that they're both cheesesteak trucks, but if you like food truck books, this was really good. Now, I wouldn't say that I loved this enough to make it a new favorite, but it deserves to be in this list. Notes from a Young Black Chef by Kwame Onwuachi. I also listened to the audiobook of this in tandem with reading the physical, and what I really love about this is it's a memoir about Kwame and his journey to being in the culinary industry. What I love about this book is the way that the recipes are incorporated and how it talks about the origins of food. My only favorite from October is Ophelia After All by Raquel Marie, another book that I just keep thinking about. I love contemporary, and this one delivered. I'm so glad I finally got around to this after years of saying I was going to pick it up. I'm also happy to have been able to include it in this list. I thought this was just so well done. What a great debut. It has questioning rep. We have queerness. I constantly am thinking about these characters. This was so well done. Two of my favorites from November were Our Way Back to Always by Nina Marino. She's one of my favorite YA contemporary authors. This is also a book that I constantly think about. It was so fun having a scavenger hunt element. We have a girl in STEM, and it is about childhood friends who had a falling out and how they reconnect in senior year. It also talks about grief. Winter Counts by David Hesko Wimpley Wyden gave me nightmares. This was so fantastic. Highly recommend. Now we're down to December, and I'm just gonna speed run the last of the books. Thirsty by Jess Hammonds was phenomenal. This has mental health rep. It talks about alcohol. We also have a secret society, friendship, and identity. A romance that I didn't think I was going to love as much as I did was Deck the Holes by Kat Cassidy. This is following a a trans man with a head cold and a former mobster. It's hilarious, it's great, loved it so much. Most Ardently by Gabe Cole novella has a soft spot in my heart. I just loved how much trans joy was in here. It is a trans Pride and Prejudice retelling following Oliver Bennett, a closeted trans boy. The audiobook was great. And last is Those Pink Mountain Nights by Jen Ferguson. This is a YA contemporary following 4 teens who all have things going on in their lives. They're in remission from childhood cancer, queer, and their cousin has been missing. This talks about MMIW, and it is following Indigenous teens. It's so good. I'm so glad I finally read it. I had been wanting to read this for a while, and it was great. And that concludes my best books of 2025. Do we have anything in common? What were your best books of 2025? Let's talk in the comments. Just because it's March doesn't mean these books stop getting praise. Let's chat in the comments. And if you're new here, hi, I'm Alex. I'm a trans man who loves to uplift queer and trans books on my corners of the internet. If you would like to support my content more, I'm on Patreon and Bindry. Thank you to my top members. I appreciate you so much. Your support throughout this year and last year has meant so much to me. If you want more exclusive content and to interact with me further, have access to my private Discord, become a free or paid member. The links are down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.